Hello and welcome back to the Halo series. My name is Brooke Beissel, Director of Marketing and Events at Halo Consulting. Today we have Liz Naber from Hummilitas. Throughout our session, we will cover Liz's journey, which has led to her to be an entrepreneur. To kick off the questions, let's get started with you, Liz. Can you share with our viewers where you started your career and how it has evolved into starting your own company, Hummilitas?
First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. Very luckily, I will say I started my career back at a very fast-paced startup in Chicago. I was surrounded by very highly intelligent people. They were extremely motivated. There was constant change, and I think it really set the tone for just really my career in terms of what I was looking for, who I wanted to be surrounded by. And then from there, I was there for about 6 years. I learned a ton, had a lot of experience across a variety of, different, I would say, departments and categories, which was really exciting to me. So I think it gave me the confidence to invest in my franchise that I ultimately fell in love with. So I opened and operated a franchise back in 2015 in the boutique fitness space. Lots of hard work in the first couple years. And then I purchased an existing franchise within the same system in 2018, and really owned and operated those for about 7 years. They were both, equal parts rewarding and challenging. And ultimately I moved states. So I moved out of the state. And so I just sold both of my units this past April, which, was difficult for me to part ways with something I dedicated so much of my time to, but I think it also allowed me to evolve, and it led me to Hummilitas. And so it was through my experience, acquiring one of my locations and then selling both of my units myself, that Hummilitas was born. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
As you continue to embark on your entrepreneurial journey, what is the story and mission behind Hummilitas?
And a bit on the background of Hummilitas. I'm currently focusing on helping entrepreneurs value, list, negotiate, and ultimately sell their units, specifically in the boutique fitness world. So I think we're in this post-COVID era, and there is a ton of fatigue and life changes that just came about. And so there are a lot of franchisees currently who are looking to sell profitable units. In this space, it's been my experience that a lot of the time spent is dedicated to helping, retirement age professionals exit, and not a lot of effort helping people who are just looking for a career transition or had a big life transition. So it kind of just evolved from there. And I'm really dedicated to helping people, find their confidence through their exit. I think there was a lot of times that I was just experiencing, I was questioning myself or things that I didn't know. And so I'd like to take a lot of what I learned and help people find that confidence through this exit, as opposed to just kind of learning as they go.
Sounds great. And I'm really excited to see where this takes you.
Thank you.
With a lot of new things coming your way as an entrepreneur, what are the things that are keeping you up at night?
It's funny. I have an incredible gift for sleeping, and I have a toddler. So no, I'm just kidding. I think I learned a lot from owning franchise units. So I would say what kept me up at night for those units specifically is probably a bit different today. So what's not unique to me, I would say, in this post-COVID era is staffing. Staffing is a huge challenge. I think it was, something that was really a silver lining of COVID, is that it forced a lot of individuals to prioritize themselves and their mental health and their well-being. But I still think people are trying to figure out how to balance that with their work. And unfortunately, small businesses specifically are still struggling with staffing. So staffing was huge. It kept me up at night a lot, to be completely honest. I also think there was this huge expectation, it was an external expectation of business owners to go back to operating at 100%. Post-COVID, when the reality is that, I think still to this day, revenue is, still on the rebound and rebuild. So to have that expectation to operate at 100% when the revenue is not quite there, is pretty stressful. But that was the majority of what kept me up at night, was how was I going to fill my schedule? And then, how could I evolve and be transparent, externally with my clients enough to let them know that, like, hey, we're working to rebuild, but we're not quite there yet. But you're still our priority. So it was a nice, you had to find the balance of how to serve your clients while also how to serve your staff and how to serve yourself. But now I feel like I took a lot of what kept me up at night and kind of applied it to Hummilitas in the early stages. And so I think for me, I'm in a luxury phase, I would say. And a lot of the things that keep me up at night are exciting things. It's energizing to me to think about all the possibilities of where Hummilitas can go. And I'm taking my time with that scale. So I kind of have the luxury of being energized by things that are keeping me up at night, as opposed to, having real stressors, which a lot of small businesses and businesses in general have right now.
Talk about your challenges that you have overcome, because you are a well-rounded franchise owner, and has a lot that goes into that. So the challenges that you did overcome, how did that get you to the point of starting Hummilitas? Was there a turning point that made you realize?
Totally. I think I really leaned into a lot of those challenges. I mean, even, thinking back to my early stages of being a very young franchise owner, I was a little bit blinded at first. I was so excited by the opportunity to do it, just a little bit naive going into it. But you have a lot of expenses right off the bat. So you have franchise fees right off the bat. You have rent that you have to pay. You have to train a staff. You have to pay that staff. You need to build a community. So I think there were a lot of challenges initially that many people experience when you're opening a business. But I think I leaned into those challenges this time around, and I really paid attention to them. So I knew that, for now, this business was going to be me. I wasn't going to have a brick and mortar location where I needed to pay rent. I was going to allow myself the time required to, educate myself on this business fully and entirely, and kind of scale at my pace, which was a luxury that I didn't really have prior to that. So I think the challenges that I learned from there kind of set the groundwork and the tone for the early phases of Hummilitas. And I'm happy I'm leaning into those, because I'm happy with where we're at right now.
If there was a piece of advice that you wish you received prior to being a franchise owner, what would it have been?
There are a lot of items to think about here, but I think initially some tangible items of advice, I would say, review and scour over your franchise disclosure document. So franchisors are now, I mean, not now, it's been since like the early 80s, but they are required to provide a franchise disclosure document. I think what a lot of people do if they're new to franchising is they review like your initial fee and your royalties. That seems very obvious. Definitely do that. But I think there are things that are also the things that are important to consider in addition to those. You have other fees outside of your royalties. So let's say like you have a marketing contribution fee that could be at 1% today, or the day that you're thinking you're going to invest. But pay attention to those caps of those fees. So they put in there, it's 1% today, but it could increase to 5%. And that can be a really significant increase. So pay attention to the fee caps, not just the fees as to what they are today. I also think don't be shy, reach out to current existing franchisees within that system, and reach out to owners that are new. Reach out to owners that have been in the system for a couple years, and then those that have been in the system for, longer than 10 years, and just get their experience, and really kind of do your due diligence, because this is a major investment. And you want to be as successful as possible, but you also want to be as knowledgeable as possible. And so I think, just don't be shy to reach out to existing owners. They're going to be your best source of information and your best source of true expenses, because franchisors can't really actually say, oh yes, here is your list of expenses. They can tell you, around what you would be having to spend on, but they can't actually legally tell you that.
In one of your latest blogs, you note that more often than not, business owners think that hired experts have all the answers for their business. In reality, the only expert of business is you. The last part of this quote is so impactful, yet franchise owners continue to lean on advice from others. What advice or tips do you have for franchise owners that may be looking to sell?
Yeah, I don't think this is exclusive to franchise owners, but in particular, get your finances in order, I would say. And that sounds like, well, of course, like you had to have been doing that the entire time. And yes, that's true. But a lot of times you hire an accountant to reconcile your books, let's say. There are certain things that your accountant are just going to, categorize based on what they think. And so if you're not checking those line items, or if you're not ensuring that you're communicating to them different changes within your system that might change your books or change your royalties or change your fees along the way, those types of things add up over the years. And so pay attention to those line items. At the end of the month, if somebody's reconciling your books for you, go in and check each line item, and then go ahead and take it a step further at the end of each year. Compare year over year and see, oh shoot, my margins increased, in this area, but decreased in this area. Why is that happening? And see what you can do to address it. And I think it's just a good business practice in general to familiarize yourself with your finances and how you can make your business the most profitable and the most successful. And then if you're looking to sell, that'll be great because everything will be organized. And if you're not looking to sell, then that'll be great because you'll just have a more profitable business. But I think a lot of times people really say, oh my gosh, they're a CPA. This is what they do for a living. I fully trust them, which you can to a certain extent, but you also have to kind of be that mediator and communicate, hey, this line item should actually go here. If it's miscategorized, then your margins will be a little bit off, and that matters. So pay attention to those things, because those things add up, and then it'll also save you so much time.
As you continue to pave the path and elevate the exit, what advice would you share for aspiring franchise owners and franchise owners that are looking to sell, but maybe hesitant to take that next step?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the thought of selling can be very overwhelming or just daunting. I think for me personally, I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to sell, but where do I even start? And so I think when you put first things first, you find that clarity. So break it down and ask yourself, why am I selling? What is your motivation? Are you retiring? Are you moving states? Are you fatigued? Has there been a major life change that you need to address? That may seem very obvious, but ask yourself that question, because it forces you to start prioritizing where to start. And then I think next would be just addressing how urgently you're looking to sell. I think that will just help you align your expectations for your sale, because it can take anywhere from, 3 months would be the dream. It's a little bit unrealistic, to up to 2+ years, depending on, how you're valuing your business and what the market is like. And so I think asking yourself, very honestly, what is your urgency will allow you to kind of set those expectations. So I think start there, and then all the other items will start to fall into place based on what your 2 answers are to those 2 questions.
Well, before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to say or talk about in terms of the work you're doing at Hummilitas personally?
Yeah, I mean, if you are a franchise owner in the boutique fitness space and you think down the road, let's say in 5 years from now, you might consider a career change, or are looking to sell your investments or anything, or even if you just want to talk about it, that's something that we do as well. So we help you kind of explore even the potential opportunity to sell down the road. And then you might find through that conversation that it might not be for you and you want to hold on to that investment. And that's okay. We offer that. It's totally, complimentary consultation. And really, I'm just here to help people find their confidence at any point in their franchise journey. And, being a multi-unit franchise owner, former multi-unit franchise owner myself, I understand the position that you're in and the challenges that come up on a daily basis. And so just kind of having that conversation allows you to be prepared for anything to come. And that's something that we offer as well. So even if you're not ready to sell, we can have a conversation that might help prep you 5-10 years down the road.
Well, Liz, we really appreciate your time today, and we really look forward to seeing what you do with Hummilitas, and we will stay connected moving forward. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks so much, Brooke. Thanks to Halo.